everyone. It's Thursday. It is time for another edition of Likkle Byte Ideas. And I am so delighted to welcome all of you for another interesting episode of our show. As you know, we are here to talk financial matters. And of course, life revolves around finance, and finance revolves around life. I'm 𝙇𝙀𝙆𝙆𝙇𝙀, as you can see from my name, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Samuel Fields Consulting Group. It is my pleasure to wish all of the ladies out there happy Women's History Month. We just celebrated International Women's Day on Tuesday, and I hope that you did something special or someone did someone special for you. If not, you're in the right place because we are here to honor women, particularly this month, and to look at the money mindset of women. It's a little different from men, I'm told. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests to this week's episode. Of course, our CEO, Megan Samuel Fields.
Good afternoon, 𝙇𝙀, and good afternoon to our audience viewing and listening. And happy International Women's Day. I know you went, but I hope you had a good one. And Women's History Month to all the women.
Fantastic. And so, as you know, we are honoring women throughout the month of March. It's Women's History Month. We're taking a look at women who are trailblazers, and there's so many of them across the region. In Antigua and Barbuda, we have lots of them, and we're going to be bringing a few of them into the studio. But for the here and now, we do have a phenomenal woman in our studio that I've just met, but I'm honored to bring her in. We have Miss Euleta Francis, and she is the CEO of the Antigua and Barbuda Airport Authority. And I'm just surprised that our paths have not crossed. Hi, Euleta. Welcome to the virtual SFCG stage.
Good afternoon, 𝙇𝙀. Nice meeting you again. We met for the first time this afternoon. And Megan,
well,
good afternoon.
We roll and tumble.
We roll and tumble.
So I hear. Folks, they're actually neighbors, so they're probably talking over the fence more often than we know. But that isn't that so cool?
You're letting out our secret.
Yeah, but isn't that so cool that you can know people in different capacities and
absolutely,
have so much in common, and at the same time have a professional relationship, a personal relationship, balance the many spheres that we women have to balance. So I think that is very cool.
Yes.
All righty. So just to go through some housekeeping things, and we're going to be talking to Euleta about her role. She is the first female to hold that post as CEO. When you think of airports and you think of planes, and I called her the gatekeeper because when you think of airports, there's so many gates. So she's our gatekeeper. And so for those of you joining us, we want to make sure that you have checked out our website. We have put together a Women's FinLit Toolkit. It is a toolkit with lots of resources. It helps you look at your money mindset. It helps you make better financial goals, great articles that cause you to stop and think and pause. And we all need a reset from time to time. So go to our website. It's samuelfieldsconsulting.com. We've made it easy. It's on our landing page. So once you log on, you'll see a burst of color and a lot of information right in your face because we don't want you to miss it. But very cool stuff. And take some time this month. It's Women's History Month. Take some time to really look at your money mindset, perhaps look at your financial goals, perhaps look at how you're managing your life. Likkle by likkle, as we always say, our mantra.
Absolutely.
And this is just a good time to do that reset. Everyone is honoring us and recognizing us. Here's a nice way to really live up to those expectations by making sure that we broaden our scope of learning and that we look at our habits and see how we can improve. So definitely check that out. And just to recap, last week, For those of you who missed it, we had an amazing woman on. I'm still reeling from that
Amazing.
interview.
Amazing.
Yeah, we had 𝙬𝙀𝙆𝙆𝙆. She is that young lady from Antigua and Barbuda who's going to space. And she's just, I mean, I said to Megan afterwards, we can see why she was picked.
Oh, yeah.
She's such an interesting, deep thinker, has a different viewpoint of looking at life. And I can see how her application for that contest must have stood out from the first go around. So she's a very special woman. We had a really great conversation about finance. Interestingly, she's a coach. She jumped right into it, and financial wellness and literacy and all the things we are trying to push. She is very much into all of that. So it was a great discussion. So if you missed it, of course, you can always catch up with all of our episodes on our YouTube channel, Samuel Fields Consulting. Go to YouTube and you'll see her interview. We're also featuring Stacy Russell. Stacy is an image consultant. She was a presenter at our life conference, and she talks about your image currency and how you can redefine your image these days. If we live in a different time. Young people, a lot of them have piercings and tattoos, and it's a different age. And so coming into the work world, they may be challenged. So she is also featured on our Facebook page and our YouTube. Just a recap of her presentation at the Life Conference. So lots of resources for you to really focus on, reboot, just reconsider your life, reconsider your goals. It's just always good to stay on the up and up, or at least have the intentions of doing it, making sure that you kind of remember it. So if you're deliberate about it, you may
little steps.
It's about being conscious and just being mindful that these are things you have to do. You'll get there eventually. So I am so delighted to talk to Euleta. So let's jump right into it. Euleta, tell us about yourself. We'll get to the professional side eventually. But tell us about who you are as outside of the job, your family life, how you grew up. Let's just see I want to see how you grow up to be a CEO. Tell us how you started out.
Oh, so we're going all the way back.
Well, as far back as you'd like to go.
And that's fine. I'm from very humble beginnings. I am from Otters Newtown. I come from actually a very large family. Large family in the sense that I grew up with my mom, along with my grandparents and her brothers and sisters. And so we all lived together. My grandparents had 9 kids alive. So there's a whole. So we're very, very, very family oriented. So we're the kind of family who we'll all stay in the same place. We sleep on the floor. We sleep 5 in a bed. We just like to be together. We're extremely family oriented. So from Otters, I went to my secondary was at the Christ the King High School. And for me, Christ the King, as I've always known, was a tough call for my mom. She was a single mother. And back in the day, Christ the King was considered the top of the line school. It was expensive, private education. And so I am blessed that she made the sacrifice to have put me through Christ the King High School. I was an avid reader growing up. To be honest, I don't know what particularly in my growing up led me to the CEO position, but I think I've always been the kind of person who I've never refused a job. There's no job I've ever been in that I said, that is not my job. I've always been very big on experience and information. I always want to know how to do something. So I remember back in my younger days, the IT people would come to your desk and there's something wrong and they would go on it, jump on it, and they want to fix it. And I would knock their hands away. And I'd say, no, you tell me what to do. Because if it happens again, I want to fix it. So I've just always been that type of person who just wanted information. I just wanted to know everything, wanted to know how to do stuff. Like I said, no job was ever not my job. It was there to be done. I would get it done. I'd always say to you, I've always been the kind of person who's I have a bit of a takeover spirit.
Okay, that's good. That's,
Mindful of. So I jump into a project and I don't know that I'm trying to lead it particularly, but I just want to get it done, you know?
mhm.
So I
So
tend
that's
to,
what leadership is.
I was just about to say,
Some people
it's,
never. Some people are not about getting it done. Some people.
yeah.
Some people like it to go on.
So I tend to, I
So
just
you're
tend to
results
jump.
oriented. That's what
I
I'm
am
hearing.
extremely results oriented. I
Okay.
tend
And
to
that's
focus
definitely a great
on,
quality for a CEO.
yes,
For
You
a
have to
leader.
be. Some people get caught up in the small details. You know,
yeah,
I too am a
Gotta get it
results
done.
oriented person. I start from the
So am
back
I.
and work my way back. What is it going to take
Absolutely.
me to get? This is my
exactly.
destination. What's the
How do
route
you
that's
get
going to get
there?
me here the
Hmm.
fastest and most
Yep.
efficiently?
How am I going to get there?
Yes.
And so I, found a way to, again, I'm coming from humble beginnings. My family doesn't have a lot of money. And so I had to put myself through university. I went to work. So I worked for a couple of years. So I was really a mature person going into university to do my first degree, which was accounting. And then I came back home. I came back home. I worked for a couple of years. Well, lucky for me, I was able to make it work because I got study leave. I was working at APO at the time, and I got study leave. They had a study leave policy on their books that not many persons took advantage of, but I did. And I went off, and I had to come back. Had to. Maybe that's why I'm here. I don't know if that forced my me back to Antigua, but I had to come back because I was bonded. I came back. I worked for APUA for about 5 years. I believe 2 or 3 years past my bond period. And then I took off and I went to the UK to do a master's. And then I came back home again. And I came back home. I went into gaming briefly for a couple of years, I would say. And then I decided I wanted to go it alone. So I got into consultancy. I'm big on IT and I'm big on data and I'm big on systems. And so I started doing work with a number of companies, software implementation, accounting systems, doing some cleanup. Then the opportunity came around. I Someone said to me, someone I'd worked with, said to me, this was somebody in finance who said to me, we need somebody at the airport. And I was, okay. Because again, I am in the mindset of having worked at APUA for so many years, huge company. I don't think I'm ready to go back into a large company. And I had worked in gaming with a very small company, and I think I kind of liked that. So for me, it was, nah, I want to stay small. I want to be independent. I want to do my own thing. And then I got the opportunity to go to the airport to meet with them because they were looking for somebody to come in and help them do some cleanup as well, some implementations. And they started looking for a CFO at that time. And, at the time for me, it was more, if I'm in consultancy and I'd worked with a number of different companies, and again, that spirit of always wanting to know more, I felt that aviation, it's an industry I knew very little about. Um, and I said, well, if I want to keep focus on this consultancy, aviation would be a good field to get some experience in. And so I decided, well, yeah, I think I could be interested in the job. And particularly as they were building a new airport, it just seemed like a major project that, I could be, very interested in, and I could bring some, make some contribution in that regard. And
Sounds
so
like the neighbors' dogs are fighting.
I know, I think so. And so I interviewed for the position and actually got the job. And there began my journey towards the CEO position. So we've moved from my personal right into my
and what a great story.
And what a journey. Lovely.
Yeah, very, very, I mean, very, very encouraging, because so many people, you know, and younger people today, they want to see that path very clearly. And, you know, those of us who've been around for a little longer, we know that there's no straight path to your
there's no straight line.
Yeah, to your success. It's very, very jagged. It's a zigzag roundabout kind of way. Sometimes you just have to be open to all possibilities.
And I like what you said, Euleta. No job was not yours. Nothing was beneath you.
Nothing.
And I think that's so important, because you just don't know when that job will be your stepping stone to CEO.
Exactly.
You know?
Which it was actually, because again, I got to the airport. It was a new, fairly new authority, a new CEO who brought a different mindset to the game. And so I learned quite a bit from him, actually. And so between the both of us, there was a lot of work that we put into what is today the airport authority. And that mindset of, this wasn't my job, I came here to be the CFO. I mean, it was crazy at first. I'm like, this is more than I bargained for, you know? So even at the time, I was still trying to keep my consultancy going. And I absolutely couldn't, because the job was much, much bigger than I anticipated. And so
thank God you didn't know what you got yourself into.
I didn't. But that mindset of, this is not my job, is really what got me here, because, you know, I led the charge on the development of the IT department, which they didn't have, you know, the commercial department as well. So there's so much that was done that the job description that I signed up with, for the pay I signed up with, was not what I ended up doing. And so any project that was sent my way, I embraced it and you know, jumped into it and got it done. And the reality of it is, that is the mindset that is why I'm sitting where I am today.
That's definitely where we are. We believe it's mindset and lifestyle.
I love it. Yeah.
You know, so you're definitely a believer. Just curious, throughout the region, are you the only female airport CEO throughout the region?
No, I believe Grenada has a female CEO as well.
Okay.
Yes, Grenada.
Fantastic.
Great. This is nice. I really, really like it. So let me ask a question. So you're now CEO. You've been CEO for how many years now?
In August. So it's what, 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And moving from CFO to CEO, what would you say is let's say your biggest challenge or difference between CFO and CEO?
I've had to think about that so much. It's a funny question, really.
Did you start out as acting CEO? Because I know in Antigua,
actually, yes. So it's
because people act forever.
So I was acting CEO from May of 2019. So as acting CEO, I was acting CEO only for 6 months. Okay. And I'm thankful for that. The board was very clear that it would be a 6-month stint, and then we would determine what would happen after that. So, so the difference between the CFO and the CEO, you see that mindset that I spoke about, where I was always involved and always doing things that did not fit the CFO's role. That made it very easy for me to transition into this role, because the only difference for me was that the things I kept advocating for and complained that maybe this wasn't happening, that wasn't happening, guess what?
The
I can't
buck stops
complain
with you
anymore.
now.
The
It's
buck stops
The buck
there,
stops
right
with you
there.
now.
what stops with me, you know? So I am thankful that there are a number of things that I had advocated for that I'm now in a position to be able to chart the course that I had been advocating for. I would say, save for the fact that, COVID came along very
Oh my
shortly
goodness,
after I
yes.
took that position.
Yeah, and you're in the heat of things. But tell
In the
me,
heat of things.
help us understand, what does a typical day look like for you? What does a CEO of the airport authority do?
Oh gosh,
And I mean, with COVID,
there's,
I'm sure
there's
these
no
days
typical
mostly
day.
COVID related.
There's no typical day because
Okay.
no 2 days are the same, right? So the airport authority manages the entire operation, and in aviation, security is one of the biggest aspects of aviation. And then you have the operational side, the planes, the landing, the operation, how it functions. And then you have the facility that has to be maintained. And you
Right.
have the customer service element. So we have a staff body of 330
What?
persons. Yes. Just the airport authority, not the airport. The airport authority.
So the authority has over 300 persons?
Yes. The authority
And so
has.
do people, so outside of the airport, what kind of roles would people hold? I think everybody's not at the airport. Where are the other people?
Everybody is at the airport. What I was
Oh,
saying
wow.
is that the airport, so at the airport, you have the airlines, the ground handlers, but
Okay,
the
so when
airport authority itself has over
you're
300
counting
staff.
all those people.
I'm not counting those people.
What?
The
I
airport
didn't
is
know
a
that.
very, very
Wow.
extensive community.
Hmm.
Yes.
And
So we have
you're not including immigration and the
no, we're not including
right,
immigration, we're not including customs,
right,
we're not including the airline staff, we're not including ground
wow,
handlers.
right.
Right.
So
Okay.
how about
Security?
people, maintenance, and what have you?
So it's
Security?
it's
Okay.
Okay,
maintenance,
maintenance.
it's operations, it's
Yes.
accounting, it's just whatever it takes to
Wow, I
maintain
had no idea
the right.
you
Yeah,
guys were
I
your
didn't
staff
know
was
that
that
myself.
large.
Yes.
Okay.
That's great. So, tell
Wow.
us about um, the most the most rewarding part of your job. It sounds like you are a workaholic. I can hear that loud and clear. You sound like somebody who really get
It
into
takes,
it.
you know what, Euleta? It takes one to know one, okay? I'll just leave that right there.
But I can tell from your passion that you probably, and you sound like a cool CEO, the kind of person who's down to earth. You go and you hang out with the maintenance guys and tell them, come on guys, let's get this going. The lady who is proud of keeping all of the surroundings clean. She's happy to see Miss Euleta. The taxi drivers know who you are. All the airline people stand at attention when boss lady is coming. So it's I just from your body language and how energized you are and excited when you speak about your job, I can tell that you really enjoy your job.
Yeah, passion.
But
we hear the
aside
passion.
from all of this, what is the most rewarding part of being the it's a huge job. I described you in our promo as the gatekeeper. You
I
pretty
know
much
that was
oversee all of the you pretty much oversee all the gates coming into the Antiguan airport. So, and at a time like COVID, the gatekeeper is even that more important and critical because you get to say who comes in and who does not. So, well, during COVID at least, I'm sure a lot of the policies had to, not that you were the policy maker, but you had to enforce a lot of these policies in terms of, if people came in, they were tested and routed appropriately. But we'll get to all of that. But tell us, what is the most rewarding part of your job, of your day at the V.C. Byrd International Airport?
The most rewarding part. Oh boy. If I were to go back to maybe just the fact that throughout this entire pandemic, that we were able to maintain our staff levels and allowed for everybody to still have jobs, be able to, help their families.
Nice.
That for me was extremely rewarding because, and I felt proud of that. And I felt proud because my journey as the CFO, and I believe because the company was very, the fiscal management was good. We were very fiscally responsible. We have a lot of tight measures. We don't have a lot of room, a lot of waste. And I got a lot of flack for that. As a CFO, everybody thinks that you're tight, you complain about money, you don't want to spend. And that's fine. That's fine because that is what I want.
That's your job.
That's my job, and that's what I want people to say about my CFO now as well. But for me, it's a proud moment because I am comfortable and happy that because we were that kind of company that we were able to manage and continue to manage through the pandemic, as we speak without laying off staff. And so that for me right now is the most rewarding part of just holding the operation together, being able to see people continue to have jobs.
Great.
Fantastic. Let's take a break briefly. Megan, do we have any questions?
No questions as yet. No questions as yet. I see some thumbs up, but no questions as yet.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, Euleta, of course, this is a show where we come together to talk about ideas. And, we've had some great ideas from, just having conversations. We come from such diverse backgrounds. You start talking and everybody throws in their 2 cents. And a lot of times we start out just talking about random topics and we end up with like, wow.
That's a great idea.
Last week with our guest, for those of you who missed it, she's headed to space. And so I was pushing her, like the prize that she won is valued at close to $1 million because she gets to take 2 persons she gets to take somebody else with her. And it's valued at close to $1 million US. So she doesn't get to take home that in cash. But, I was pushing her. How do you monetize this experience?
Yes.
This is a once in a lifetime experience. How do you monetize it? And I don't think she really thought about it in any depth. But Megan and I when we were done, we had her thinking, like, how do you really, she has a voice, a platform that can be universal. Because very few people in our lifetime will have that opportunity. So she will be, her name is going to be in the halls of history as somebody who was just lucky, number one. And number 2, she's upbeat about it and ready to, she has some plans at least we were asking her, like, what are you going to take to space? What's going to be in your purse? What are one of the things that what are one of some of the experiences you're looking forward to? So that was very, very interesting.
And she's going to be bringing back some air, some space air.
Yeah, so tell her to bring back some space air and sell it.
So she's got to find somewhere to monetize it.
Exactly.
We were talking about the guy from Sesame Street that was selling air. Remember him?
Yes.
The guy who was selling air. And people were buying it. He said he was selling air. Nobody needed to see it or feel it or touch it or smell it. He said he was selling air and people bought it. So we were telling her, bring back some galactic air or energy.
Galactic air, yeah.
Or energy. And she just might make some money from it. If she says it's energy, it's energy. So
all right, so Your great idea, Euleta. What is your
Yes.
idea for us today?
Oh boy. So when Megan sent me that email and said, well, you need to have a little idea to share, I
Yes.
was like, So I called her and said, well, here's my little idea. What do you think? Does it sound too simple? And she said, absolutely not. But, this whole show is about financial wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's the little things, I think. And so I'd like to share with persons just maybe how I, in my personal life, handle things that, could cost a lot of money. So for instance, I like my freezer, I like to tell people.
You
So
like
I
your
do
freezer.
my freezer, right?
Okay.
So I like my freezer. So if I
Must
open
be a very nice freezer.
so
Is it a
if
smart?
I
Is it a smart freezer?
no, I don't like it like that. I like it for what it can do for me.
Okay, I got you.
You got
I
me now,
got
right?
you.
So I am very good with, for instance, if I open a can of tomato sauce, I don't allow it to sit in the refrigerator and go bad. I quickly pour it into freezer trays or a Ziploc bag, pop it into the freezer. And I do that with a lot of things. Coconut milk that I buy. If somebody shares fruits or too much of anything with me, somebody would send me a bag of lemons. I squeeze them, put them in freezer trays, put them away.
When you say freezer trays, are you mean ice trays?
Ice
Well,
cubes.
ice trays, but like I use covered ice trays with covers.
Mm.
They sell those. And another thing that I do on weekends, this I started doing because I found that on the weekends when I was cleaning out and I'm cleaning the refrigerator, I'm throwing out too many things. And so what I started doing, I started planning my week. So I would plan, what am I gonna cook this week? And I jotted out on paper and I searched the refrigerator, the pantry, and I said, okay, I'm gonna shop according to this list. And I found that it has been extremely helpful. I no longer have bad pieces of pumpkin that I'm throwing out, just things that you spend lots of money on at when you go shopping, just because you would have thrown out things that you didn't have time to cook. Because with me, with an extremely busy schedule, I don't cook every day and every night. So when I cook, I put some in the freezer right away. So when I
Absolutely.
said I like my freezer, I use my freezer to my benefit, because I can't get up and cook every day, and I just can't be in that space of spending hours in the kitchen. So I tend to try to be very structured and have a plan when I head into the kitchen.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a great idea. When she mentioned it to me, I said, we have things in common, because that's what I do.
Yeah, these
That's
these
what I
these
do.
these financial people, I tell you.
But I really like what Euleta is saying, because we have, I was going to say, we've just come out of a pandemic, but we're still in the pandemic.
We're still.
And I think, well, for me, I've learned so many things from this whole COVID.
Yes.
And saving your money is just absolutely important.
Important.
And managing your money. So why spend to throw away? It
Yes.
makes no sense. The one thing I would say to you, Euleta, you need to give your freezer a name. You gotta name that freezer, because you love your freezer. So you gotta say, I love Joe.
I love my freezer. Yes, I love Joe.
But how come?
Or Janet.
Oh,
So
Janet.
it sounds like you like the freezer more than the fridge.
I do,
Yes,
actually.
I do as well.
I do.
Because
I
certain
do.
things, if even in the freezer, certain things will go off after a while.
Even in the refrigerator, yes.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
it's really a great idea. It's really a great
Wow,
idea.
that is very, very interesting. So do you get into labeling stuff as well, or you don't take it that far? Because I know some people.
Oh, I do. I have my permanent marker, and I label and date so that I know when I go back in, I'm going to take the older one. Yeah, I'm a little anal sometimes, but
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
I'm not there entirely. I'm not there, but I'm getting there. And again, this
You
is
probably use a different filing system. I'm sure you do.
yes. And again,
She's
like
an accountant at heart.
The fruit section, the cereal section, all that stuff.
no, and listen, trust me, it's important, because if
But
not,
I did see Rachel Ray or somebody give a tip like that once.
probably
Like even when you cook and you have sauces, or like you mentioned the tomato sauce or maybe even spaghetti sauce.
yes.
They said pour it into ice trays.
Mm-hmm.
So this way, even when you, but I guess the first time you open it,
Yes.
so that from there on, it's a single use.
Yeah.
If you're cooking, in small portions.
Drop it
that
in.
ice cube, you just drop it in the pot, so you don't have to, expose the entire. You don't expose the entire contents because it's frozen in little ice cubes. So I think that's a great idea. Maybe you'll start doing a blog or something, giving people tips, or you should probably join one of these online groups. There are a lot of groups out there with people, maybe even with your background, Facebook groups where people just share these ideas, and they're always unearthing new ways of doing things. So you and Megan maybe can start the Antigua.
Maybe. Hey.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll call you guys the financial nerds.
But this, let's not go with nerds. We'll go with something else. But it's a little passion of mine, where we must find ways to stretch that dollar. Because it's tough out there. It's tough out there. I mean, I know I'm not the only one who goes to the supermarket on a Monday, and when you go back on a Friday, the price has gone up like astronomically.
Yeah.
So
we have to find ways.
We really do. We have to be creative.
Yeah.
What I found is, I have an empty nest, so it's very different. But what I found is, working from home, you just don't shop as much as you used to. You just don't have that temptation.
Because you're not out, you're in.
Because if you're out there, you don't see the showrooms, the showcase.
Yes.
You don't walk by a restaurant and smell the food.
Yes.
You don't, I am very conscious of how much money I used to spend. So you break $100 bill to buy a train ticket to go to work on Monday. And by Friday, between buying lunch, all types of little things, by Friday, you're like, where is the rest of the money? Mm-hmm. Now, a $20 bill can stay in my purse for weeks.
Because you don't go anywhere. Yep.
And if I do, I use my card. And so there's no, that impulse of just stopping to buy gum, or stopping to buy, things you really don't need.
Yep.
So I have not gone shopping in ages. And there are times where you certainly don't have the same lifestyle, but there are times when I need to go somewhere and I have to say to myself, wow, I forgot. I have so much that I can choose from. But the old habit was just, it's time to get more and upgrade. And it's winter. Let me get my new winter boots. Well, nothing is wrong with the ones you have in the box that you didn't open last year.
Exactly. And what I always say, COVID has its bad side, but it does have a good side.
Yes, it does.
Because it has taught us to do things differently.
Life could be a lot simpler.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
We don't need as many things as we thought we did.
We don't.
And whatever we save, let's put it away, because there's retirement coming up.
There's a rainy day too.
Exactly. Emergency fund. So I think it's a great idea what you said, 𝘽𝙀, and I really hope more and more people will follow us.
I hope so too.
We have some comments. We have from Connie Jenkins. She says, I am so proud of 𝘽𝙀, strong Black woman. That she is, a strong Black woman.
Thank you, Connie.
And we have from Fanny King. Great idea indeed. Love it. Thank you so much, Fanny. That is excellent. So, 𝘽𝙀, are there any new plans on the horizon for the airport authority that you can share?
There are a lot of new plans. So for us, this management team that we have in place, we are determined to do well. We're working right now under a theme, charting the future of VC Bird International. And so we have a really nice terminal, and we have to ensure that we are able to sustain it into the future. And what we want to start doing, or what we've started doing, is planning for that future. Because one of the challenges that we have at VC Bird International Airport is that we are totally surrounded by so much development. And if we wanted to extend that runway, the only place that we could take that runway is into the sea, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So there's a lot of development all around. And so we have started identifying all of those developments. We've started advocating to say, listen, we have to stop and take a look at what it is that we're doing around the airport, because if we continue, we may have our children or grand could be looking for a new location for VC Bird International, because we could have a lot of breaches of international standards if the development isn't halted. So that is one thing we're doing. So everything we do now is focused on where this airport is going for the next 20, 30 years. Even for the terminal itself, some of the plans we have, or one that I could speak about right away is we're looking at a connector building between the two terminals. So we have the old terminal, which is still very much in use. A lot of times people say to us, so what are you doing with the old terminal? And I smile and I said, it is in use. A lot of offices are still there. Our entire administrative offices are still in that old terminal. We have the air traffic control, we have the Met office. There's so many things happening in that old terminal. And so what we plan to do is, we already have concept drawings, is to connect the two terminals. And just really look at, outside of that, we are just identifying a lot of areas where we can make the terminal aesthetically pleasing as it is. We're focusing now on making it efficient. How do we, and that's the key. That's the key for us. And ensuring that if the passenger numbers go up another 1 million in the next 2-3 years, which we would like to see happen, that we can manage it. Yeah. So we're already identifying all the things that we need to do. And that's on the infrastructure end. On the people side, because we can't ever forget about the people side, is that we're focused on developing and succession planning. Because, as much as I could say that I learned a lot from my former CEO, who came from outside of Antigua, you always wondered, well, why can't we, or why couldn't we have found people within the community to fill those positions? And please, I don't have anything against persons from outside of Antigua, but at the end of the day, we have to look within to develop our people to ensure that they can step forward. And so it is not my plan to stay in that position for the rest of my life or for many more years to come. So I want to be comfortable that when I leave, I have people ready to step into my shoes, the other executive members' shoes, and even for the persons who can't step into those roles, we want to we want to work with them to ensure that they're ready, if not to move up within that company, that they can move up and on, because none of us knows where this industry is going. If you look around, a lot of countries have gone privatization. I'm not
That's true.
advocating privatization now, but Jamaica, as close as Jamaica is, Jamaica, both of Jamaica's two main airports are already privatized. So we don't know what direction we'll ever move to. And so I think we have to prepare our people who sometimes get a little bit too comfortable in
Yes.
a job, you know.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I try to talk to younger people around me about. It's very important, because if you privatized, a company like the Airport Authority, the first thing they're going to come in, they're going to start looking at, well, how can we cut numbers? Who has what? Who's certified in this regard? These are the things that, whether we like it or not, that is the direction the world is going in.
Absolutely.
And so the people side of the Airport Authority staff is also something that I want to leave a mark on and ensure that we're moving
I like
in
that.
direction.
I like that. And I like that you're putting the people first, because without your people, you're not going to have a successful airport authority.
Yep, very important.
Yeah, very nice.
Well,
very
this
nice.
is Women's History Month, and so the final question I want, or the final discussion I want to have with you, is insights in terms of how women can better position themselves for leadership roles. In your case, it doesn't sound like you even thought about leadership. You were just doing a good job, and you keep, as Judge Judy always says, keep doing the right thing, and the right thing will happen.
And the
It
right
sounds
thing
like that's the path that you took. But having traversed that path, and looking back at the challenges and the successes and everything that you encountered along the way, what advice would you give to young women who are in pursuit of excellence, who would love to be in your shoes in another few years? Help us carve out a path for them. What would you recommend?
I think preparing for the role is very, very important. Too often persons have gone into a job, and it's a job. And so preparing in terms of, if you want to move forward, what do I need? What it is that, what do I require? So this job, CEO position probably, requires certain degree levels. It required a certain amount of experience. So you've got to prepare yourself first of all. And the other part is always going to be your attitude. I remember reading this book, or picking up the book because I never finished it. And it was by Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I think she is CEO of Facebook. And leaning in was never a problem that I had, or sitting at the table. And I think too many people sometimes stay in the background. And if you want to move forward, you've always got to step forward to make your mark. You've got to show that you want to get this done. You're focused on this part. You want to, you're looking to move up. And so it's, again, like I said, it's preparation and it's the right attitude.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And what I find, unfortunately, as women, we sometimes, and maybe it's the way we were raised, we don't lean in, we don't show up, we
sit in the back of the room.
We sit in the back of the room.
We don't want people to say we nothing edge up.
Exactly.
They're around, a table, and there are 2 rows of chairs, and we pull the one at the back.
Yeah.
Well,
Listen,
I don't
you
know
know,
what
you know that happens, right?
it
I was
happens.
I'm
reading
very
a
I don't know
book.
conscious of
what
it.
that is
Yeah,
because I'm
I
always
was.
gonna go and put sit at a table,
Yeah,
a chair closest to the table. But
I was
I'll
reading a
share
book,
you.
and
I'll
they
share
said a
with you
lot of women
guys,
do that. They come in,
yeah,
they see the seats for the front, and
and they
they
and they sit
gravitate
in
to
the
the
back.
back.
automatically go to the back.
Yeah.
They go to
I
the
We,
back.
used
we
to be
have to
like that.
change that.
You
I
know.
used
We
to be
have
like
to
that.
change that.
It was a part rebellion, insecurity, just not being
Who's your role model growing
Yeah.
up? Who
there
who
were none.
woman would
I'll
exactly?
share a quick story with you guys. I took a finance class once, and I was actually pretty good at it.
Figured you would.
And this professor was known to be very tough. So I was working, I'm hustling. It's the only finance class at night. I figured, let me just take the guy, despite everybody saying how tough he is. So we had our first test. And of course, I always sat maybe back row or second to last row. So he came in and he said he was very disappointed the class didn't do well. But who is 𝙇𝙄𝙆𝙆𝙇𝙀? So I don't know what that means. Is that good news? He's talking about everybody doing badly. So who is 𝙇𝙄𝙆𝙆𝙇𝙀? So I'm like, what did I do? So I kind of raised my
What
hand.
did you do wrong? You right to
Yeah, what
think
did I do
wrong.
wrong? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I raised my hand. He says, I need to see you after class. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound good. But after class, I went to see him. And he said to me, listen, you got the highest grade. I got like a 94. The next grade under me was in the 60s. He says, that was a fine paper that you did. But when I'm grading it, I'm like, I don't know who this person is.
Yes, it is.
He said, I can't put a face to who is this person?
It's sitting in the back.
He's thinking of all the people who ask questions. This person got such a good grade, but he can't put a face to this person. How can that be? So he says, when I put up my hand, he was shocked. He knows my face. I never ask questions. I'm always in the back. I never seem into it. And he said to me, you're from the islands, right? I said, yes. He says, I have this problem all the time.
Yes.
He says, I don't know what it is. You guys are so smart, but you just don't, you just don't know how to use it to navigate, in talking to me, he says, I can see you're no wallflower. Why are you in the back? He said, let me tell you something. From here on, I don't want you any further back than the second row. And he says, as a matter of fact, that is something you should start doing. If you don't want to be in the front row, fine, but you should not go further back than the second row. And he says, you better be prepared to answer questions in class because I'm going to pick on you. He says, you're a smart girl. What are you doing back there? He says he had no clue. He couldn't figure out in his head, who is this person that got this grade? Because he can't put a face to this name, right? And I was like, wow. I don't know that was it might have been something I did when I went to college because I was definitely never a shy person. But I probably had just kind of fallen into a little lull, a little rut. And I took him very seriously and I applied that to life. And all through my career, you know how to be present, how to step up enough, assert yourself without offending other people. But then at the same time, you're not there to please other people, but just to be a little more assertive. And I definitely credit it to our culture.
Yeah.
Where
Absolutely.
we just kind of show up and we don't know how to leverage. It takes being taken out of your culture sometimes to see other people's culture and to see how they were raised. And they just gravitate to some of these roles very naturally.
It is true. And sometimes too, I think that we have to be okay with not knowing. Sometimes we believe that we have to know everything. You don't. You have to ask questions, and you have to be okay with asking questions at any level. So it shouldn't matter if the person is above you, below you, or whatever. You want to know something, ask. And I don't think there's any stupid question. I can share a story as well that when I was doing my first degree, there was a guy who would ask what you thought then, the stupidest questions. And you're like, why oh gosh, and the class would laugh. And there was a honor society called the Golden Key Honor Society back in the day. And they would invite students who have a certain GPA in. And I remember being asked to be, in the induction. And when I got there, this young man was there as well. And so here it was that people would always laugh at him, thinks he's asking stupid questions. But then I learned that people ask questions based on their understanding and how they need to understand something. And I think that it's our people sometimes need to understand that as well. It's
Yes.
okay to ask a question, even if you think that somebody else thinks it's stupid.
So true.
There's no stupid question. You ask so that you can understand it from your level and your perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's very important.
So we have a few questions and comments. There's one here that I think is so interesting. It's from Caroline King. Can you explain some of the strategies leaders can employ to promote organizational excellence?
Well, and I guess I'd want to understand organizational excellence from what angle, because it comes at different levels, and I'm not sure what says that an organization is excellent. So for me, one of the things that I have been talking about right now at the airport is what we call the customer experience. Starting to focus on customer experience and not just passengers, just customer experience in general. No longer say customer service. Let's focus on how we can make somebody feel good when they step into our space, whether it's a passenger, whether it's somebody else coming to see a passenger off, whether it's an employee, whether it's a stakeholder. So strategies for promoting organizational excellence. For me, I would say one, what we talked about earlier, which is focusing on people, focusing on your employees. What can you do to get buy-in from employees? Because that's important. So being a leader who just demands what I want is not the way to get what I want. I have to find a way to get my employees to buy into the vision, because only getting them to buy into your vision is the only way you're going to allow that vision to become a reality. And so I guess if you make that happen, and there are a number of things that you can do, because it's going to come from the entire, it has to come from your leadership team, right? And leadership team. And as I always tell people, leaders are not always your supervisors and your managers, because sometimes you have employees who are not in any of those positions, who have more influence on staff than even some of the leaders or some of the managers, quote unquote, managers. So finding ways, identifying who those persons are with influence in the organization is key to helping to roll out your vision.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, Euleta. In addition to that, I do believe if you want organizational excellence, whatever that is, because you're right, organizational excellence could be different for different organizations. But I think as a leader, in setting whatever the standards that you decide or you determine would make your organization excellent, as a leader, you have to lead by example. So, do as I, how you go, do
Do
as
as I
I
say,
say,
but not as
but
I
not as I
do.
do. That you
Does
can't
not
have
work.
that. You
Does
can't
not
have that
work.
because, and it's amazing though, because it's not just in the big things, but even in the little things. What I have found, even in little things, as in getting to work on time, saying a pleasant good morning to even the janitor, the little things that people look and see, okay, this leader is really genuine. This leader has integrity. This leader really wants to promote excellence in everything that he or she does. And if you do that as a leader, And as you say, focus on the people, because people need to feel appreciated, to feel like they are part of a team.
Yes.
And so it's not like you have the executives and they're treated a particular way, and then the others are treated differently. If you treat them as a team, I do believe you'll be on the path to organizational excellence.
Excellence. And it doesn't matter what systems you put in place. If the people are not prepared to use the systems, they don't believe in the systems you've put in place, it will never work. I mean, just from an accounting standpoint, software implementations have failed because the focus has not been on the people who will be using it, right?
Exactly.
And if the people don't have confidence and they don't feel comfortable using the system, nice fancy system it is, it still won't work because it needs input from the people.
We're running out of time, but there's another question specifically for you, Euleta. What are some of the challenges you have faced as the first female gatekeeper? The phrase gatekeeper is catching on.
I'm telling you.
Oh gosh. If we're focusing on the female part, to be honest, I have not gone into this job thinking that, I'm female, and I've not focused on it from that end. Because one of the things that I want to share today, and I'm happy I'm getting the chance to before we get much later, is that here in Antigua, in the aviation business, we're quite unique, because what I'll say to you is that there's so many women leading the way in aviation in Antigua. It's unbelievable. So we have 4 major ground handlers at the airport. 3 of them are being led by women. The chief air traffic controller is female. The chief immigration officer is female. Majority, I would say, all of the airlines with senior people on the ground in Antigua are all female. American Airlines, JetBlue, British Airways, Caribbean Airlines. So I don't know what it is here in Antigua, but female women are leading the way in aviation. And, I said last year, and I got busy and didn't remember, but last year I said, this year I wanted to do a feature on the women in aviation.
This month. This is the month. Euleta.
I wanted to tell that story somehow, because not many people know that there's so many women leading the way in aviation in Antigua.
Is there an aviation month?
You know what? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't think so. And I shared this story actually back in 2019 in Colombia, because I got invited to be on a panel, because again, women in aviation in general, a very small percentage. But here in Antigua, it's unique. I'm not sure what it is or why, but it definitely is a story to be told. So maybe Megan is something we could talk about featuring them here.
I just did a check, and November is aviation month.
I know I'd seen it somewhere.
Aviation history
I believe so, yes.
In America. I don't know if it's international, but you know what? This story needs to be told.
I'm a story that needs to be told.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Especially when we can compare it with other regions in the Caribbean, other Caribbean islands throughout the region. What obtains as far as female presence.
Yes, and even on my team. So my CFO as well is female. So we have 4 executive directors, managers, and it's equal, 2 female, 2 male.
Okay. Wow. Good stuff. So we have a few more comments because we are wrapping up. Ramona Samuel says, it is said that men tend to apply for jobs they're underqualified for, while women tend to undersell themselves.
I tend to agree. I definitely tend to agree. And I think
because we want to tick all the boxes. If we see an ad,
Yes,
we want to
yes.
tick every box.
And we
If
take
there's a
everything
box that we
literally.
don't, yes, and if we have, if
We
there's
don't
a
take
line,
risks.
yeah.
What if
wanna
I'm
make
not
sure we have
good enough?
everything.
What if I'm not qualified?
Yeah.
I have 7, but I don't have 8.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
You know, so
Whereas
we second
the
guess
men would
ourselves a
probably
lot.
just look at the name.
The
and say,
name,
okay,
Exactly.
and send in an
let me know.
application.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as women, we have to find ways to change that. Another comment from Ramona Samuel: we are not encouraged to push past, rather we are encouraged to be content. I gotta say, not in our household. I think we
Not
were
in our
encouraged.
household either.
We were encouraged to push, but I think I know where she's coming from. In some families, the girls were not really pushed. I can't say
But in our
we had that.
household, I don't know that we were pushed. You know, it was just a culture. It was
Well, we
a
weren't
conscious
pushed,
push.
but it was
It was
an
probably
expectation.
a push for everybody.
It
as
was a push for
opposed to
everybody. Yes.
A push for
Yes.
the girls.
Yes, you're right.
The guys.
It was, yes. But I do understand where that comment is coming from, because there's some females, they never got that push. Just be content.
Yes.
Just be content, yes.
Yeah. And another comment: excellent discussion. Thanks for sharing, ladies. Yes. This was very, very, very interesting. And it morphed. You saw how it morphed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this was the idea, just to get to spotlight women who are trailblazers.
Yes.
They've done something special, something novel, something new. And so, you know, in your case, you just, like I said, you just showed up. You showed up, did the right things, and, you know, success found you.
It certainly did.
Yes, yes.
That
Congratulations,
is great.
Euleta.
Thank you so much again.
Yes, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, and we look forward to the future. I love topics like this.
Yes.
I think as a country, we have also had a lot of firsts as far as, you know, a female MP. We still don't have a female prime minister, but we had a female MP. We've had several females who were speakers of the House, a female governor general. We had a female commissioner of police.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did.
You know, so we definitely are a country, I think, as a whole, where women are, you know, the glass ceiling doesn't even exist as it does in some other countries. Because when you look at some of the positions that women have held, we've definitely broken the mold in several instances.
Yeah,
so thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping the gateway safe during COVID, and for keeping the gate and for opening the gateway when people had enough.
And don't forget, we were the first in the region.
That's right, to reopen. Yes, that's right.
Excellent.
Yes, so that's quite an accomplishment.
Quite.
And you know, I don't know if you guys are like me, but in COVID, I've forgotten so many things. I think COVID, that was my diagnosis, loss of memory.
Yeah, it's what for me, it's the timing. Somehow, when I say last year, I'm thinking about
2 years ago.
Yeah. COVID just messed things up.
It did. It changed our appreciation for time.
Okay, we have a few comments. Great job. Dorothea Blackman Brown is saying great job. Caroline King, great job. And I will also say great job. I really enjoyed this, Euleta. Yeah, thank you so much.
Wishing you every success. We know that you still have a very tough road ahead, but congratulations on all of the great work that you're leading at the Antigua and Barbuda Import Authority. We're proud to call you a friend of the show.
Yeah,
you're already a friend of the neighborhood. So hopefully, you know, we will be including you in a lot more of our ventures moving forward.
Absolutely.
So thank you once again. Give our best to your team and the phenomenal staff that you must have to be so upbeat in a time like this. And to all of our viewers, thank you so much for being a part of our show. Megan, have we confirmed our guest for next week?
No, we have one that, let's leave it. I can't say.
Yes, we have an internal confirmation, but things are just so in a state of flux these days. We'd rather not say. And we like when you come back and you're surprised. I know, of course, once we get it confirmed, we'll
yes,
advertise it on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll definitely know before you come. But she's another powerhouse, another trailblazer, someone that you love to hear her story because, like Euleta, she's a first and has set a really high bar here in Antigua and Barbuda. Yes. So until next Thursday, when we welcome you back at 5, we're wishing everyone a great weekend.
Let's thank our technicians.
Let's thank our technicians. Aaliyah, I want to thank you so much for putting up with us and for keeping us on track. Everyone, we have a great technical team. We have Aaliyah Jenkins. She is our regular and she keeps us on track. We can't do this alone. We're too challenged. And we have Nicholas Fields, who also is a part of the team. We want to thank them for guiding us safely through our second season. We started the show back in September. And aside from maybe that little break we took in January and February, it's been a regular every Thursday.
Yes.
So we know that some of you are on every week, and we thank you for your support. So everyone, go have a nice dinner. I know that Euleta has something interesting in the freezer. And have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.